Well, hello. I'm here at Second Valley, beautiful little coastal spot here in South Australia. We've got a lot of heavy, dense cloud, so we don't have to compete with any high contrast or bright highlights. So I'm just going to step around and have a look at this composition. I really like this line of rocks here, leading off towards the towards that headland there. So I think I'll probably use this as some foreground interest to lead your eye in and through the image. Now there probably won't be a lot of super long exposures today, but we'll see. I'm expecting some shorter ones to capture some movement of the water in and around these rocks, but you never know what's going to grip you, what sort of creative ideas are going to pop into your head. So I'll set up and I'll see if we can make anything happen here. I'm hoping the water will continue to wash in and around these rocks, so better set up before that tide heads out. So you'll notice that when the wave comes in, I'm pushing down on these legs just to sink them into the sand a touch. I do that so that any subsequent waves won't move those tripod legs too much, and we've got a steady platform. Hello. Hello. Okay. What we've got here is the first composition setup. So we've got a couple of rocks just over to the left here to anchor that corner. This leading line of rocks here. We've got a nice little tree sort of positioned here. Almost, it's just above the top right third. Horizon and some of that gorgeous, really detailed, moody sky. So I'm just going to set up and throw on a couple of grads, because that sky we want to make sure we retain and capture all of the beautiful details. So I'll probably put a soft grad on just to hold that back a touch, and then we'll see what we're going to do with those waves from that point on. So first of all, I'll put on our filter holder. I use the NISI 7 filter system, but they're all pretty much the same. They all do the same job. And into that, looking at the sky. Oh, come on, please don't break through sun just yet. I'll probably put on one of my grads. I think I'll put the 0.9 on. So I'll just pop that in, making sure that we put it into the little threads in the holder so we don't cross thread them. And I'm putting it one further away from the edge of the filter system, because if I'm putting a ND grad to slow that shutter down, then I'll be putting that closest to the lens. We've got to watch the rain. It's starting to rain a touch here, so just slot that in. So at the moment we're about f11. I'll push that up to around f16, and it's saying a 13th of a second at the moment, and I probably want to slow that down a touch, probably to around half a second. So I'm looking at throwing on a 3-stop and seeing what we get from there. Remember, we're still in aperture priority, so this should give us a general idea. So let me just adjust this and see how we go. ISO 50, that's giving us 1.3 of a second. It's okay, we'll give that a go as a test. And I'm focused in on that near rock, I'm just going to wait for a rock, a nice wave to roll in. This looks like it. I'm just going to flip this into portrait because I think there's an image just here to our left. And we'll look at this image here. There we go. And of course, let's make sure that we are nicely level. Just like that. So we know this is working at 1 second, and that water moves nicely around these rocks. So let's just give that a little go. Oops, silly me, beginner's mistake. Didn't reseat my filters. So we'll wait for the water to come in. I've just focused in on this nice little section of rocks right in front of us, and we want to isolate that with some beautiful white water around it. So we're just going to wait for the waves to come in and then take a succession of images. And then before we forget, I'm going to focus on the background and capture those. So I'm capturing this at 1 second with the at 1 second, both with the water coming in as it is now and the water going out. And just capture that movement over a second, which looks quite nice, and we haven't blown anything out. So you can see that we've walked into some white water here, as we've got the rock this time nearest on our right hand corner, and we've got this one on the left, and then again up here on the right. So our eye should zigzag our way into the composition. Widen this out slightly, give us some room. There we go. Wow, it's really starting to come in. I'm just going to have a quick check at the front of this, make sure we haven't got spray, which we have. Fair amount coming in off that water. Again, we can go for 1 second here for the time being. Just going to wait for a big one to come in. Bit of white water. And you should always test the water coming in, which I'm doing a few of here. Oh, that was nice. and the water going out, because the patterns are completely different, and it's worth having both sets. Just wait for this one to come in. It's worth having both sets so you can compare between the two. There's something really that I should emphasize here, is that make sure that you check your tide, check your swell information, and always make sure that you've got an exit point off the beach. If you do that, then you're safe. Never put yourself in a position where it's a bit precarious, so please, safety first and pictures second. So here the tide's incoming, but I do know that this is a safe beach, and that I'll always be able to walk along the edge of this cliff face and be safe. Okay, so we're at 1 second at the moment with a 3-stop on. The easiest way to work out your exposure time is I put it into, this is my method, it may or may not work for everyone else, is I put it into aperture priority. I'm just going to move the focus back down to this near rock. Aperture priority is giving me a 13th of a second. I use my NISI app. I put in 1/13 of a second, and then I change the filter option here, put it up to 6. 6 stop gives us 5 seconds, sorry, and a 10 stop gives us 1 minute and 20. So I'm going to throw a 10 stop on and run it for the full minute. Very important that you lock the focus on your main subject, because when you put the filter in, the screen will go quite dark and you might not be able to focus through it. So I'm going to put it back onto manual. I'm on manual, and then I'm going to change my shutter speed to, it was 1 minute 20. From experience, that means that I may be able to push it to 2 minutes. It's quite gloomy. I'll try a 2-minute exposure, and if that is too many blown highlights, then I'll flip it back down to 1 minute and run it then. So I'll try that for 2 minutes. 2-minute exposure, off we go. I've got probably one other piece of advice for you, is when you're putting your camera in your bag, could you please make sure that you don't accidentally switch it on. I arrived here this morning and both the batteries in the camera were completely dead. I do carry spares. I got the spares out, and because they've been left in the bag so long, they had hardly any charge at all. So please double check, triple check your batteries before you go out. So thank you for joining me here, and until next time, see ya.